Generals of the Civil War: Ulysses S. Grant and Robert E. Lee.
Hiram Ulysses Grant was born in Point Pleasant, Ohio, on April 27, 1822. Many know him as Ulysses S. Grant. He changed his name before enrolling at West Point in 1839 because he did not want the initials HUG on all his bags. After graduating from West Point in 1843, he joined the U.S. Army as a second lieutenant and is appointed to the 4th Infantry in St. Louis Jefferson Barracks. He did not serve in many wars before the American Civil War. However, he did serve under General Zachary Taylor in the Mexican-American War. At the outbreak of the Civil War, Grant was appointed colonel of the unruly and unorganized 21st Illinois Infantry. He whipped them into shape by September 1861. Due to his excellence with the 21st Illinois Infantry, President Lincoln signed a commission that was later approved by Congress on August 5, 1861, to make him a brigadier general.
On January 19, 1807, Robert E. Lee was born in Stratford Hall, Virginia. Son of Major General Henry Lee III, Robert E. Lee was destined for a life in combat and began learning military strategy at an early age. At 18, Lee went to the U.S. Military Academy in West Point, where he graduated second in his class. Because of his accomplishments, Lee was able to choose the branch of service for his first assignment. He chose to work for the Army's Engineer Corps. Lee continued to show superior military skill and got promoted to first lieutenant in 1836 and captain in 1837. However, it was not until the Mexican-American War when he completely distinguished himself, receiving praise from General Winfield Scott, who declared Lee the very best soldier I have ever saw in the field. Right before the Civil War began, Lee was asked by President Lincoln to command the Union forces. Although Lee was against secession and his family wanted to support the Union, he chose to stay loyal to his home state of Virginia and rejected President Lincoln's offer. Lee then became a significant figure in the Confederate Army and was a major influence in the events that were about to transpire. During the Civil War, Lee was arguably the most influential person, as the South was greatly outnumbered by the Union Army, and if it had not been for Lee's exceptional tactical knowledge, the South would not have been able to last for the amount of time that it did. Lee had many strong skills that consisted of an ability to anticipate the actions of the Union Army, utilize interior lines in battle, and implement field fortifications. These abilities provided the Confederate Army with compensation for the lack of men. With his ability to predict the actions of the Union Army, Lee was always able to remain a step ahead. With such information, he could avoid tragedies with ease and was able to base his strategy off of how the Union was aligned in battle. Perhaps the most important attribute to Lee's strategy was to have interior lines during battle. Interior lines allowed for quick transportation of supplies to troops and forced the opposing army to spread out. Lastly, Lee used well-designed field fortifications in his battles. He recognized that a small body of soldiers, protected by entrenchments, could hold an enemy force of many times their number, while the main body outflanked the enemy and attacked a smaller force somewhere else. Lee was years ahead of his time since this tactic was not fully understood or generally adopted until the 20th century.
Ulysses S. Grant was not the general-in-chief of the Union Army from the very beginning. He actually gained the position in March of 1864 due to the inability of previous Union generals to take advantage of all the disadvantages that the South had during the war. Grant did have an influential role for the Union Army even before he was given the role of general. His victories at Fort Henry and Fort Donelson in Tennessee earned him the nickname Unconditional Surrender because when the Confederates asked him what were the terms for surrender, he said, "No other terms than unconditional and immediate surrender." Grant's single lowest moment in his military career was at Shiloh, when a surprise attack by the Confederates caused many casualties. Many people advised President Lincoln to relieve Grant of his duties. He replied by saying, "I can't spare this man. He fights." When promoted to general in March of 1864, Grant brought an outlook that the Union Army never had, and that was to chase the South wherever they go, so they never had a moment to rest. At the Battle of Spotsylvania, Grant said that he was ready to fight it out on this line even if it takes all summer. And finally, on June 2nd, 1865, the bloodiest war in American history had come to an end.